Hello and welcome to Collaborative Leadership Traits and Techniques with Beth Bednar.
If you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. This was how Dale Carnegie titled the first chapter of his 1936 personal development masterpiece, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Carnegie had sensible advice. If you want to keep people on your team, first and foremost, don't make them mad. It's better to work with them than against them. As Homer Simpson would say, duh, that seems pretty obvious. Hi, I'm excited to be working with you today. I think that phrase, if you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive, is an appropriate way to begin this session on collaborative leadership. Lots of companies and their leaders could use a little Dale Carnegie advice right about now. Every day we see firsthand that teams are becoming increasingly diverse. New generations are taking over the workplace, and old leadership styles are being questioned. The practices of some leaders are being pushed aside in favor of collaborative leadership practices that sometimes get better results. Lots of the biggest companies in North America now at least give some lip service to open innovation and collaborative leadership, but their efforts and results vary widely. To be truthful, some get it, some don't, and some are still trying. That's why I hope this session will be enlightening for you today. So let's begin with the end in mind. Why spend your time today engaging in this webinar conference? I don't want to waste your time. Why bother to talk about, much less practice, the art of collaborative leadership? I believe there are at least 5 reasons why you will benefit from the time you spend listening to this program today. Number 1, it sure can help build team morale as well as create team and stakeholder buy-in. Number 2, the communication skills required in this approach can define you as a real person of influence, thus the reference to Dale Carnegie. Number 3, it can help build your insight into some cross-disciplinary skills you may have never considered in the past. Number 4, more heads and eyes can really enlarge your perspective, making you a better leader all around. And number 5, collaborative leadership can make it a lot more fun to go to work every day. We've all heard the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Social media sites like LinkedIn and Facebook and others remind us that each of us has created a dense web of interpersonal relationships in our lives, many of which overlap really heavily. It's that dense web that comes into play when we collaborate with others. Well, you naturally know the people you can count on, just as you know there are some folks in your workplace, well, and at home too, who don't, shall we say, play nice in the sandbox. Sometimes I'm amazed when I log on to Facebook and marvel how people from all over the world, family, friends, neighbors, schools, and workplaces, past and present, all intermingle in one place. But time and again, those relationships, past and present, represent a real timeline of collaborative communication skills that have been built over the years. It's not what you know, it's who you know is also a great way to first define the concept of collaborative leadership, and second, how to delineate the difference between it and the traditional leadership models. Now, the definition of collaborative leadership can be really heavy on the theory, folks, and believe me, I have read some white papers on the topic that work a lot better than a pill to put you to sleep. It's complex in theory, but today I want to keep it real and down to earth to talk about the practical aspects behind the theory. Simply put, collaborative leadership is a process in which we facilitate groups or teams working together toward a common goal. And it's recursive, which simply means that it's a process that can be repeated over and over again with the same team or a different team. So the definition may be simple, but it's really not necessarily easy. Why? Well, we all have our own agendas, that's why. And human beings can be stubborn and, yes, selfish. And as a culture, we spend a lot of time and effort encouraging star performers and rewarding individual achievement. Despite those obstacles, however, great things can happen when we learn to flex our leadership muscles just a little bit differently. Now, just to clarify, collaborative leadership does not mean getting people to work separately on the same project, and it is not inviting a bunch of people to a meeting at the beginning of a project. No question, the workplace is changing and leadership is changing with it. So let's start with an apples-to-apples approach. Collaborative leadership may be easier to define by explaining the differences between traditional models and collaborative models of leadership. We're looking at 6 key areas here. 1. The traditional leader believes power comes from his or her title or position of authority. Collaborative leaders don't necessarily have to have a title. They believe power is greatest in a collective team. 2. Traditional leaders maintain ownership of information, often for very selfish reasons, while collaborative leaders openly share their information and knowledge. 3. Traditional leaders sometimes ask for suggestions and ideas. Collaborative leaders constantly encourage suggestions and ideas from their teams. 4. Traditional leaders deliver solutions and decisions to their teams, while collaborative leaders facilitate brainstorming to find solutions. 5. Traditional leaders stick to specific roles and responsibilities, while collaborative leaders allow roles and responsibilities to fluctuate as needed. And number 6. Traditional leaders review staff performance based on company policy, while collaborative leaders offer immediate and ongoing feedback and coaching. Even if you find yourself thinking it is impossible to make a 180-degree U-turn in your traditional leadership organization, there are some important lessons here for the emerging leaders of the future. These 6 key differences between the 2 leadership styles I just mentioned help to highlight 6 specific techniques used by collaborative leaders. The really good news is, even if you cannot fully integrate the collaborative approach in your organization today, wider use of the following techniques will brand you as a forward-thinking leader, one who's admired and respected. These key techniques, I guarantee, will enhance your leadership skills no matter where you work. I'm going to list them first for you, and then we'll look at how it works in the real world. Truly celebrate different perceptions and outlooks. Don't just give lip service to the idea of diversity. Be willing to openly share information instead of hoarding it or using it as a kind of currency to get something in return. Listen non-judgmentally and openly to new ideas and suggestions. Facilitate discussions and brainstorming sessions instead of just pontificating. Be open to allowing roles and responsibilities to evolve as needed, or consider shadowing or job sharing as appropriate. And offer immediate and ongoing coaching and feedback instead of waiting for a company-mandated time to have the talk.